Hier ist antidotischer Starts now.
MSNBC is a crack house for intravenous idiocy. This podcast is the common sense rehab. And now your leftist detox counselor, Brock Lawley.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brock Lawley. This is the Atheist Antidote Show. Thank you very much for listening. Benghazi. 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 Jumanji. No. Benghazi. Benghazi. That word Benghazi. To a liberal. It's just people being mean to Obama. People just being mean to B.O. That's all it is. I wonder how many of you remember, just a short couple years ago, not too many, 4 or 5-ish, when a guy named George W. Bush was in office. Do you remember those times? Do you remember how nice liberals and the media were to George W. Bush? Do you remember that? Back rubs. High fives! What do you need, GW? I got your back. Do you remember that? That was the sentiment, wasn't it? Top to bottom. People love themselves some Bush. Not that kind of Bush. I don't remember that. That's not how I remember it. In fact, I remember films being made in Hollywood about assassinating him. I remember movies being made distorting the guy. I remember bumper stickers, and I remember people in the streets with big dolls of Bush setting him on fire. I remember people throwing shoes at him in press conferences. And today, jump ahead, new administration, and you got an administration that lied so many times, even people who are following this can't keep track of it. Then you have an actual U.S. ambassador who was murdered, sodomized, killed, drugged through the streets. But more than that, this guy's bopping around in these weird outposts, meeting these shady characters. No explanation for it from the State Department. You got Marines killed. You got people told to turn warcraft aircraft around that were coming to the rescue. You got people, they were receiving stand down orders. Just imagine for 5 seconds if this wasn't the great and powerful B.O. in office, but George W. Bush. Do you think then asking questions about this would be hating or picking on Obama? I don't think so. I think this is the kind of thing you'd hear. Why, we have to keep the executive branch honest. This isn't a dictatorship. The American people deserve to hear the truth. We can't allow our government, our State Department, to lie to us. More importantly, we can't allow American citizens and ambassadors and security personnel, we can't allow their lives to go without explanation. Certainly we need to get to the bottom of this. Somebody's head needs to roll. I wasn't really alive for the full extent of memory for this, but I certainly read a lot about it. Washington Post, I think it was either the Washington Post or the Washington Times, broke the Watergate story, and they followed those clues, and then they followed the witnesses, and they kept hard on the trail, just like a journalist should do. And it led to the White House, led to the Oval Office, led to the president's desk. And that was the right thing to do, because the American people deserve a hound dog press, because it's the only thing standing between us and lies and deceit, abuse of power. But this press, they don't care about any of that. Now, granted, I have a journalism degree. They went to school. They learned how to do it. They know what their responsibilities are, but that's not their priority. Their priority is a worldview, dogma, ideology. Barack Obama shares all that. So if a couple people get killed, and if there's all kinds of shadiness going on at the State Department, there's all kinds of unanswered questions about terror touching down on our soil, well, that's all an ends to a means. That's collateral damage. That's acceptable, because after all, the president is a liberal. Liberals don't make mistakes. Liberals don't make mistakes because liberals have good intentions. And anybody who asks questions, or anybody who says something that puts a liberal, specifically the liberal president, in a bad light, that person's evil. There can't be any other motivation for asking these questions, because Obama represents liberalism. Liberalism, you see, is always good. It's easy being a liberal. You're just good. You wake up in the morning and you're just good. Your actions don't dictate whether you're good. You're just good because you're a liberal. And so when you do something wrong, you really didn't do something wrong. You just did something good to get something good, to do something good, to be something bigger, to move the sheep. It's all acceptable. If it's under the tent of liberalism, it's all acceptable. Blood can spill, deceit, lies, end to a means, onward and upward. I don't know how deep into the dogma of leftism you have to be to buy that, but there are a lot of people that deep. There are a lot of people that deep, and it's not even really about this one issue, because this issue is important. This issue is important. The lives of those men, the families, they deserve it. The country deserves to know, even if the country doesn't seem to care. Which, by the way, as a side note, as a personal note, that's more disconcerting to me. Because I already know that government in Washington, D.C. is corrupt to the bone. I know that. There's no limit. There's nothing that they won't do to preserve and expand power. But that Americans don't care about this is quite frightening, and perhaps the darkest cloud in this storm. Because if they don't care about this, and they don't care about anything, and they won't care about anything till it knocks on their door, because it will. And they'll care, but there'll be nothing to stop that force. And there certainly won't be a watchdog government. And in fact, if you complain about your door being kicked down for the benefit of the state, whatever that happens to be, you'll be villainized, ladies and gentlemen. And it won't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican. You'll be villainized. Fundamentally transform the United States of America. Got to give it to him. He did just that. Thank you for listening to the Atheist Tornado Show.
You are listening to the Atheist Antidote Show.